Hello, my name is Shockwve, and welcome to TimeShift. This was a very unknown game that was released in 2007. This is a single segment run going to be done on casual or easy difficulty. This game, as I said, was released in 2007 for the PC, the Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3. The general story of this game, although it is very lackluster and minimal, even if you try to play this casually and watch all the cutscenes and listen to dialogue and everything, you're a physicist who doesn't have a name. Is never named in the story, with a mysterious past, brought to work on this project of these two time-shifting suits, we'll just call it that, the alpha suit and the beta suit. Crone, who is the enemy of the game, was working on the alpha suit, got jealous of your progress with the beta suit, which is the one that we're in right now, and basically got jealous, ended up killing your girlfriend, blowing up the facility, and then time-shifted to this reality back in the 1930s, took over the world, and now it's our job to stop him, kill him, because once we kill him, time would restore, and blah, blah, blah. You know, time-shifting mumbo-jumbo here with confusing storylines. This run is very broken. Every single level has a skip in it. There's also three skips that are going to be used repeatedly in multiple different combinations. There's one of grenade jumping. There's going to be abusal of object boosting or object launching, however you want to phrase it, really. And then the third one is going to be double grenade jumping. Or actually, also the fourth one is generally, but it's a property of object boosting, is out of bounds. So in the beginning here, for the first 2 minutes, there's no way you can really speed this up besides just following the NPCs. This is whole setting up the story and all this other stuff that we don't really care about right now. But mainly it's just you're walking to this destination so we can go grab our first weapon and to go out of bounds. They tell you to keep it down here, but you can do whatever. They will not catch you. Solid programming of the AI there to catch you. But you need to screw around here for like 20 seconds. There's nothing you can do to speed this up either. There's like theorized ways that you could possibly get on the roof. You get on this roof, maybe there's something you can do. Not really sure. You don't have any way to do anything besides jumping. Jumping is actually kind of slow in this game because if you jump and then when you land, you lose all your speed and have to re-accelerate. So it's actually not a good idea to jump everywhere. But here's our first weapon. So this is an assault rifle with a grenade launcher attached to it. If we use 2 grenades, we can just go out of bounds, save before we die, and then load the save, and we will be able to go out of bounds. So a lot that happened there, I'll break it down for you. Grenade launchers have a mechanic where if you hold the button to fire it, you could delay a grenade from going off. So I shoot one grenade further back so I can get a boost of horizontal speed, and then I shoot another one at my foot after the first one explodes, so that way I can get pushed out of bounds. Now, the thing with saving is if you save in the air, well, there's like a frame or two where you can save right before you die. So if you just mash the save button, you'll save and then you'll die, but you'll save before you die, and your velocity will be reset when you reload that save. So no matter what height you fall from, typically, you can just save, reload the save, and you will not take fall damage. Now, the third thing is out of bounds. Out of bounds works very weirdly. If you go too high, you'll just get stuck in an invisible wall, and then you can slowly inch your way out and then fall back down to the earth. If you land on a piece of terrain that lets you walk out of bounds, you can then walk out of bounds freely, but you will very slowly descend downwards. So think of it as, for every 2 feet you walk forward, you move half an inch down, something like that. It's something you have to compensate for when you're busy running around the map. So here I got my gun, immediately jump out of bounds, and then I'm just going to sit in this corner here. I'm actually holding forward the whole time I'm in this corner because there's a level transition trigger. Even though there's a cutscene that's going to play, I have to be at a certain height inside this area in order for the level transition to actually go. And then you can also skip cutscenes just by hitting the escape key. So once the cutscene loads, you can skip it, and then you can immediately load to the next level. So that's generally how that works. So now we got our time-shifting powers. Here we're using time slow, which just slows everything down but me. So I can use that to kill these enemies, grab their guns, and then grab another grenade launcher. So I'm going to set up this barrel in the corner for a trick called object boosting or object launching. Really whatever word you want. It doesn't really matter. You need to wait for time reversal to come up because whenever you start a level or start a section, time reversal will not be up right away, so you can see it moves objects backwards from where they were going. If you get on an object while it's moving in time reversal, and then you jump it will launch you in the direction that it was traveling, or if it was spinning, it will like flip you or fling you into into the direction it was spinning. So you can use that to fling you out of bounds. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where if you go too high, you get stuck in like an invisible wall. And then you can clip out of bounds, and then you can do some other fancy stuff. This one's a little finicky because you need to stand on this little piece of terrain that clips out of bounds that's also clipping on a wall. Because if you go too far out to the side, you'll clip back in bounds out of bounds still. So like you'll clip through the wall, but you won't be able to go back through the wall to go back out of bounds. So also something to note is fall damage doesn't work as you would think. It's not the standard convention of whatever height you fall from, that's what damage you'll take. Whatever is the starting Y level that you are at when you do your jump or you do your object boost, it will take that, and wherever you land, it will take that height, check the difference between those two heights, and then calculate your fall damage. So if you start on a lower Y level and end up on a higher Y level, you will not take fall damage. Or if you start on a higher Y level or on a 1 Y level and then end up on the same one, you won't take fall damage either. The only way you'll take fall damage is if you land on a lower Y level than you started. So it's a little weird, but once you sort of see like it's just your starting point and end point that matter for fall damage, it sort of makes sense. So here we're just going to walk out of bounds through this whole trench warfare area and go to the last auto-scroll of the game, because there's like 3 auto-scrollers that we just skipped by doing that object boost. You can clip through this wall and then walk up to this turret and start this auto-scroller immediately. So something to also note is that I need NPCs to open a sewer grate behind me on the lower floor in order to finish the level, but they're not spawned in yet. And if you don't spawn them in before the next section of this auto-scroller starts, the game will soft lock because it doesn't know who to play a certain dialogue line to, so the game just gets stuck, doesn't know what to do, and you just can't finish the level. So I try to start this section of the auto-scroller as fast as possible, so that way, once the next objective pops up right here, I get off the turret, walk downstairs into the pipe, and spawn all the NPCs that are supposed to help me with this fight. So that way, the moment I get back upstairs, the guy talks right here. So now, once he's talked, I've known that the skip has gone fine. This won't soft lock anymore. Also, there's a guy here that just like warps into position, which is kind of funny. He'll warp right here. Oop, yeah, he didn't hit his other trigger, but the game is smart enough to say, okay, I need to move this character to this position. So it moves it to this character so that way he can open the sewer grate and you can finish the level. So that was probably the biggest skip in the game time-wise. That barrel boost saves 10 minutes easy. Otherwise, you'll just sit there going through auto-scroller after auto-scroller after auto-scroller, and it just takes so much time. You also skip a shotgun when doing that trick, but we'll get the shotgun later, and that's probably one of the most useful weapons for fighting, at least. The machine gun with a grenade launcher is the most useful weapon, at least skip-wise. So here, just killing a couple key enemies that can possibly screw up this double grenade jump. This one is a similar thing as we did in the first level of the game, but you got to make sure we have as much time and health as possible, so that way we don't die and or run out of time energy, because this skip can take out your entire health bar. So like that. So one mechanic you can do here is if you time stop when you have less than 33% health, you will instantly start healing, which is a mechanic that's not present in like a lot of shooters because there's no way to really trigger a heal, but that will be abused later. There'll be at least 2 skips that will purposely damage ourselves to do boosts and then purposely time stop, so that way we can heal to continue doing a skip. So here, just walking out of bounds to the end of the level, you could just simply clipping back inbounds is super easy. You can just jump through a wall or jump over this invisible plane right here, and you'll just clip back inbounds instantaneously. Going out of bounds to inbounds is super easy. Going out of bounds or inbounds to out of bounds, you have to either do an object boost, or generally, I think that's actually you have to boost out of bounds. So that's the end of this level, really. Just have to go downstairs and hit the end of level trigger down here. Something to note of just like fun fact, I guess, if you time stop, water becomes solid, so you can walk on it. It's just like a fun little like trivia piece, really. So here I'm going to kill these two guys to get the grenades because they have assault rifles, and anytime you pick up an assault rifle from an enemy, you will get a grenade from them, which is super useful. That will also be abused later because every enemy is 100% scripted. They will not have varying weapons, they will not have varying ammo, they will not have varying anything. They will always spawn in the same spot with the same weapons every time. So you can actually plan routes around that. There'll be certain points where you actually kill certain enemies, so that way you can do extra grenade jumps. So here, get a save. And you don't have to kill all these enemies to do the skip, although it's very inconsistent because enemies' aims are super also inconsistent on the easy difficulty. But here we're just going to do a grenade jump out of bounds. Just skip a whole bunch of stuff there. This little piece of concrete is also not as thick as you think, but we're going to do a double grenade jump on top of this building over here to then skip the rest of this level. So again, we're using the first grenade delayed to get horizontal speed, and we're using the second one to give us the height that we need. So the first grenade gives you a little bit of height, but the second one is to really give you that push upward. So you just clip over that wall, and then you can skip right to the next level. Now this level also has an end of level transition where you have to have a certain number of enemies killed so you can spawn the next set of enemies over that archway over there in the corner. So once you see these two guys shooting you on the top, then you know you've got enough enemies killed so you can hit this button and end the level. So here, just gotta delay a grenade, boost over the wall, and grab this grenade over here because we could actually use the ammo. So here, gonna instantly time stop to heal so that we don't die. Yeah, having a grenade in your assault rifle at all times is super important so that way you can do any sort of grenade jumps that you need to. Here we're going to time slow just to prevent the tank that's behind us from killing us because that can very easily destroy your health. Doing a grenade jump off this forklift to skip having to press a bunch of buttons to position that properly. Here going to kill some enemies here. And the enemy RNG, so this was talking about inconsistent enemies, whereas sometimes they will miss you completely and sometimes they will just constantly pepper you with bullets. So that was a time where the first time was they were just constantly peppering me with bullets. That time they got my health down a lot faster than the other time. So at this point, it's just safer to just kill them and then do a grenade boost over the wall. So that skips having to go all the way around. Still faster than doing it casually. And then time to do our first real required puzzle with the time ability. So there's these lasers here. They expect you to stop and time slow and stand in these caverns and all, or these cubbies and stuff like that. You can just time slow through the whole thing. You don't have to actually try. Here is a guy that always spawns with a shotgun. So now we have our shotgun that we skipped in the second level. So we don't have to worry about having a powerful weapon to fight with. The alternate, so the shotgun is sort of actually special because it has two modes of fire. Every weapon has two modes of fire actually, but the mode of fire for the shotgun is super important. The left click fires one shell, while the right click fires two shells. You will typically always use the right click fire to kill someone unless they don't have a helmet. If they don't have a helmet, that means they're super weak enemies, so you can just one-shot them in the head. I would typically just shoot them with the right click. So see, that guy had a helmet, or that guy didn't have a helmet, and you just kill him that way. Just running through this whole area. We're trying to delay a specific dialogue line from playing and the movement of a specific enemy, so that way we can hit this guy in the control room, so that way he opens this gate for us, so we can just skip having to go kill that guy in the control room, and instead we can just time slow all the way to the end, kill the last guy in the control room, and open the door to the exit. So you don't have to kill that guy, but he can definitely ruin your day if you have low health, so it's just safer to kill him. Here's a cutscene. Most cutscenes are skippable if you just mash it. Some cutscenes are not skippable, and some cutscenes are skippable if you time it correctly. It doesn't make sense. Don't worry about it. That's just how they work. Sometimes they're skippable and sometimes they're not. So these guys just killing for consistency because they can also just completely ruin you. I've killed almost everyone, but yet they still have my health decently low. So now we're going to use time reversal to not boost ourselves, but we're going to ride a barrel from the top floor that exploded onto the lower floor. But actually, here's a mechanic that It's kind of important to note is the space-time continuum breach. If you reverse an object into where you're standing, the game just kills you. That's about it. So this one, the thing got reversed a little too far, so the thing re-exploded in your face. So it's a lot of timing trying to get up there without having the barrels re-explode on you. So once you ride up here, the game gets sort of confused as what's going on. Doesn't think you should be up here, but once you kill the first 2 enemies, it re-picks back up where you are and then respawns certain key enemies that you need to kill in order to open the door. So now that I've killed that enemy in the corner, this door is open, which means you can now skip to the next area. So you confuse the game to get it back on track. Luckily enough, this game is it depends on your definition of well-coded or not. Well-coded as in, like, you can skip triggers, and as long as you hit a certain trigger, the game will pick back up where you are. It's not hard-scripted to follow a linear progression. So here, we're just waiting to go ride an elevator. Though, as a sort of a fun fact, there's a falling elevator here. You don't have to time slow to survive it. It makes you think like you have to use time slow to save yourself, but you can just walk forward and you won't die. So, that's the end of Heist. The barrel, getting the barrel to cooperate with you is actually decently tricky to try to make sure that you ride it up correctly. So now Getaway has 3 grenade jumps. The first one is by far the most picky one, because the first one you have to use a delayed grenade, which has different properties than instant explosion, to boost onto this canister? Don't really know what to call it. We'll just call it a canister. To then skip having to walk all the way around, and then once you save here, you're going to time slow, kill that enemy for shotgun ammo, and kill that enemy for a grenade, and then boost over this wall, so that way you skip having to do a bunch of other stuff. Now, the main thing is that you have enough time so that way you can heal if you need to here, but we're going to do another grenade jump to skip having to go all the way around to walk on that beam, and that is like the entire gauntlet section of Getaway. So they're trying to stop you from leaving the building, but you can just jump over everything with grenades, and you just, it's pretty fantastic. So this fight up here has 2 triggers, actually, that you have to hit. You have to hit a lever, and you also have to kill every enemy except for 1 or 2. It depends on however many you get to, or however many you have alive and like what types. So kill that guy, throw some grenades, and just basically try to follow a fight a certain way so that way everything dies. Once I kill this jetpack guy, that'll be the end of the level because I completed both objectives, and we can skip that to here. So this is a 5-minute auto-scroller with a 1 minute. So there's a 1 minute cutscene followed by a 4-minute auto-scroller section. There's a bunch of like, I guess there's a bunch of like weird things I can point out about consistencies in story or the way that things work or stuff like that if there needs to be some info about the game. But this will generally be one of the 2 times that it will be great for donations. There'll be this section here, and then the second to last level will be about 4 minutes apiece. Although the second to last level isn't entirely an auto-scroller, it's partly an auto-scroller. But this would be a phenomenal time for donations, because in this auto-scroller you also don't have to care, really, about what's going on. For the most part, you can just casually shoot things, and you won't fail. The Zeppelin health bar at the top right there, it will refill back again over time. So as long as you don't let it like get less than like 20% of the health bar, you have nothing to worry about. The thing that you do have to worry about is not using any time shift abilities. If you use any of your time abilities, then you will slow it down for however long that you're using your time abilities for that part. So yeah, this is just a 4-minute auto scroller. So for here, I'll just leave it for donations or spouting random, like I said, spouting random trivia facts about the game. I'll probably just pick this commentary back up when this level is done.
Airframe integrity 70%. Attention. Starboard side engine failure. Airframe integrity 70%. Attention. Starboard side engine failure. Airframe integrity 70%. Attention. Starboard side engine failure. Airframe integrity 70%. Attention. Port side engine failure.
Son of a bitch. This is as far as I'm going. We're a flying target.
Airframe integrity 80%.
You're going in for Delta Battalion. Their Zep was shot down months ago. Before we had your intel, we thought Crone already had them executed. They're in prison, so you're the only one who can get in close.
Attention. Port side engine failure.
Alrighty, so this is the end of the auto-scroller. Once the end of the auto-scroller hits, there's just a cutscene you gotta skip, and then we're truly starting to break some levels here. Some of these levels will be as short as 45 seconds. You will see why they are so broken, and it will be insanely fast. There are two levels that you will just skip the entire level immediately. So we're gonna abuse object boosting off of a broken quad bike. So it takes 4 right-click shotgun shots to destroy a quad. So what we're going to do is time slow to destroy the quad bike, use this tire, and shoot it in a certain position so that way it flings us in a specific direction. Now this one can be a little finicky because of the tire and the way that it moves. So what we're going to do is just either use the tire, or there's this like little... I don't know anything about cars, but like this little circle thingy or that we can use to boost off as well if the tire doesn't cooperate. So there's other options that you have to boost off objects besides just using this tire. So you can shoot just those things off there, and then you can shoot the tire like this and try to get it into position. But luckily enough, the level end trigger is actually directly behind us on the other side of the mountain. So you'll see in a second, shooting this tire into position, getting on top of the tire, boosting onto the mountain, get stuck in the wall, and slowly inch our way out of the wall, so that way we can walk around freely. And funnily enough, the enemies on the ground are still trying to shoot us while we're just floating in this wall. It's just kind of funny. So we're going to fall here. And luckily enough, you are allowed to save out of bounds, so you can, if you do a boost, you can immediately save, and then continue the level. So here, we're just going to go to a certain position on the wall, then walk over this way. And, I mean, like I said, funnily enough, the end of the level trigger is, like, directly behind us, so we can just walk towards it. So, here it is. You can just walk into this, and... Another funny thing, we didn't end the level with a quad bike, and now we have a quad bike. Because, you know, consistency between levels. It's pretty good. So, in this level, we're going to do another really interesting object boost. So this one, you're going to skip the entire level as well. Normally, you'd have to go through this entire tunnel system and lower this bridge, I think. I don't remember how to do this casually anymore again. But there's a campfire, or a barrel, I should say, with a camp stool over here in the corner that we can use to boost over the edge. Something to note is that this is a crossbow with explosive bolts on it, so you just shoot things and they just blow up instantaneously. It's pretty nice. It's one of the most powerful weapons in the game because it's just you just shoot stuff and people die with one bolt, so it's pretty easy. So here you can just sit in this corner, and then you can line up a grenade on this stool, and then you can use it to boost you over the map. So you can either use the stool or the barrel. So you just launch the barrel over the wall, and also bushes are solid in this game. It's something that's really strange and like doesn't make sense comparatively to a lot of other shooters where bushes like that aren't solid. So you can use that barrel to boost you over this giant chasm to the end of the level. So the tricky part about manipulating objects is just to get them to do what you want, which just takes a little bit of practice. So that one, even though the arc was correct, the barrel was flipping me backwards, so I wasn't able to actually go the direction I want. Instead, it just kicked me the direction it was spinning. And then also, so something to note there that actually happened is that you can't quick load a game if you're frozen in a wall at a bounds. You have to actually pull up the menu and then load the game manually. Your quick load key will not work. So this is the one, you just gotta set up the barrel this way, line up a certain spot, and have us fling it, or get flung to directly towards the next objective, which is right over this chasm. So there's a semi-neat segmented strat you can do here. You can utilize the speed of this train to boost you to the end of the level, but it's very inconsistent and very hard to time correctly. So instead, you just time it, or you just time slow away from it, and then you time run or time slow towards the next objective to finish the level. This cutscene coming up is one of the ones where you have to time it very specifically to skip it, otherwise it just won't skip. So you can skip this one, it's just very inconsistent as to where it will allow you to skip. And this is probably, if you have to name a level that feels the longest, this is probably the level. Just because there's only one skip, it happens at the end of the level, and so much of this level is just walking through corridors, hitting buttons. This is by far the most boring level, so this would be actually another decent time for donations. This is just abusing the explosive crossbow and just walking through the level shooting enemies. There actually is, so something I can talk about here is that there's an introduction of a new enemy here. They have some abilities that you have. They can just move faster. So they are stored in these crates here for some reason, but they'll just move really quickly, and they have basically the ability of time slow comparatively to you, so they'll just move around really quickly. They're not a nuisance. They never get in your way, and they, if anything, they just block your screen because they have this fancy particle gun like that will just start blocking your screen. If anything, they're just annoying. That's about it. So they move decently fast. You can kill them if you want to. It doesn't really matter. Here we're going to abuse the fact that the explosion was not programmed correctly. We're just going to hide around this corner, wait till it explodes, and then walk through the building. So now here you have to actually time. So something to note, this is where time management really becomes an issue. So the energy replacement for your time bar, actually, it replenishes exponentially, in quotations. It starts off replenishing very slowly, and the longer you let it replenish, the faster it starts replenishing. So if you have a very little bit left, it will take longer than regenerating basically like a whole bar of energy. Just because of the way that how fast it will start regenerating. So here you could just grenade jump over the wall, skip off the fence post right there, and then just shoot everyone with a crossbow bolt. Because the crossbow bolt will one-shot every enemy on easy difficulty. But yeah, so for here, just going to hit the lever, and then time slow to the end of the level. So also managing your time slow is kind of important for some things. It's like very minorly important. Doors will also open slowly, even though you're pushing them. So there'll be points where you purposely have to stop using slow time in order to open a door. So like there is an example of staying in time slow actually causes the door to open slower than if I were to stop time slow and then resume slowing time when I get through the door. Now, Road Trip has a sort of interesting thing about it because so there's a cutscene that plays here after about being in the level for 20 seconds. If you do an object boost, the end of the level triggers directly behind you again. It's just like a little farther away. You can do an object boost directly towards the end of the level, and if you manage to boost into the level transition trigger while the cutscene is playing, the game will lock your controls and you won't be able to play until you pretend that you're force quitting the game and then cancel out of the menu. So luckily enough, you're given a quad bike again the moment you start a level, so you can just blow it up, then set up a tire or that little gas thing. Again, I don't know nothing about cars or quad bikes, whatever, so you can just boost over this way to the end of the level. So the ideal place is to get over that tree line, and this is the cutscene I was talking about. So this cutscene, if you land in the trigger while this cutscene's playing, you lose all control of your character and you can't actually do anything. Fun fact. This is our girlfriend. Yeah, that's all you know. That's just it. It's just you two have a thing. Crone kills her at the beginning of the game, and that's like it. That's all you know. You don't know her name. You don't know anything really. The story in this game is very non-important to like anything that happens. This tree line is solid, so if you land on this side, you just have to walk around to finish the level. It's just a minor annoyance, but it's really easy to actually finish the level because the level end trigger is actually right here in this chasm off to the left. So there's plenty of ways to get around getting a bad boost on this one. As long as you get a boost onto onto a hill, you can skip the entire level. So we're gonna fall here into this pit, and there you go. Now the forced entry does have another skip to do. It either has the long way of doing the skip, or it has the inconsistent way to do it with a grenade. You can boost with a grenade as well, like a regular grenade. So you see the weapon counter in the top left corner, the 3. That's the grenade counter. You can have maximum of 3 grenades at a time. The blast radius for those, it's very small depending on, or for the damage change, so depending on how close you are. So like the distance between dying and getting boosted by it is very small. So it's definitely very consistent to try to do grenade jumps, which is why they're generally not used. There was one spot where they were used in a run, but they was just found to be super inconsistent, so we just don't do them anymore. But here, there's a minefield. You can just slow time and walk the whole thing. It's like, it's again, it's a puzzle, quote unquote. It is not a very challenging puzzle at all. But there's part of the occupant resistance. Yeah, by the way, that's like super important. Yeah, this is the resistance that we're helping to kill Dr. Crone. If you do a double grenade jump here specifically, you can jump over the cutscene trigger, which is only in between the hole in the barbed fence. It doesn't extend completely horizontally, so you can just jump over the barbed wire and skip the cutscene. It's like a 20-30 second cutscene that you just sit there and you just like, hey, thanks for making it over here. Congratulations, here's some ammo. And then you just walk on your merry way. This is supposed to be a difficult fight, but they didn't. Again, the enemies are so inconsistent with their aiming, you can just walk through the whole area without getting shot. Or without dying, I should say. The only guy who's really a threat is this guy in the turret right here, which you can just shoot a whole clip of crossbow at, and he's just dead. So here, luckily enough, the developers put a barrel right over here. So you just shoot it off the cliff, and then if you stand on it, you can just use time reverse up this hill, which you're definitely not supposed to be there yet, and then you can just fall into the pit. So grab onto the ladder, and there you go. Just skipped like an entire section of like going through this tunnel area. So an interesting thing actually is there's one really unique animation right here. This guy does this really sick dive over these boxes for absolutely no reason, and it's the only spot in the entire game that animation is ever used. It is a cool animation, but it's like so pointless because you can just one-shot him with a shotgun and just be on your merry way. So, this is an unskippable cutscene. There's no way to skip this cutscene. You just have to wait. This is one of the very few that are unskippable. Alright, so test labs. This is where we're going to stop using barrels, and instead we're going to use a chair to boost us through a certain level. So this is normally a segmented strat, but there's actually a way you can make the chair in a good enough position that you can actually boost yourself towards the next objective. So here, this is a puzzle, quote-unquote. Again, you can just time slow through the whole thing, holding forward, doing nothing special. These puzzles are insanely well designed. So grab here, once you turn off the turrets, you can go into this room. And that chair, this chair is our friend. So we're going to use this chair to boost towards the end, quote-unquote, of this section. So, like, a lot of objects in this game share the same sort of, we'll call it floatiness. They sort of behave the same way, even though, like, this is a very light chair in retrospect to the barrel. Like, the barrel should be a lot heavier and harder to move than this chair, but they behave very similarly. So we're just going to trying to get it through the door, because chairs and doors don't really cooperate well. So once you get it through the door, that's the hardest part of the skip done. Now you just got to line up the chair, and we're going to do a reverse boost off of this chair and launch ourselves to the other side of the facility on the top floor. So going to get on the chair here and boost all the way towards the end of the level. So again, no fall damage here, but we'll take a little bit of fall damage here, even though it's not really actually a big deal. So, just kill this guy, hit this button, and also, luckily enough, there's an ammo box. So the way that ammo boxes work, because this is the first time we're actually going to really care about using an ammo box. Ammo boxes, if you just stand on them, you get free ammo. You can just stand there forever and get free ammo. It makes finding ammo basically trivial. So now we're going to do a double grenade jump to the last section of the level. There's two invisible walls we have to get over. We have to go over this invisible wall right on this fence, and then another invisible wall right on the lower section of the area. So this one here we have to get over. So you barely get enough height that you will clear it, but then you also can have barely enough height that you don't clear it. So here we're going to save right there and save load to reset our velocity so we can just walk to the end of the level. Time stop to purposely heal, and these pipes also don't behave that well. A lot of round surfaces in this game don't behave as you would think they would. No. And now we just have to wait for time reversal to come back online, because at this point, it'll say corrective time shift available. You just have to wait for time reversal to come back online before you can continue the level. There's no reason for that. You just have to wait. So you can reverse a fan. So. Now this can be one of the fastest grenade boosting levels in the run, because you will constantly be doing either a grenade jump, and then you'll finish the level with an object boost to the end of it. So right over here, so this is why we stood on the ammo box to get grenades for this skip here. So we're going to kill this guy, and then we're going to grenade boost over this invisible wall onto these boxes. So every railing in this game has a hitbox for itself, but also has an invisible wall that extends higher than you can see it. So that's why if you see me like doing a grenade jump instead of just jumping over them, is because the invisible wall extends a lot higher than you think. So another ammo box conveniently located in here, so for free ammo. Here we're going to damage ourselves purposely below our threshold. Then we're going to do another one. We're going to time stop to heal, and then do another crossbow jump with a grenade jump on top of it, so we can get back on the walkway, so that way we can finish the level and hit the button, or we can finish the objective and hit this button. And here's our friend Mr. Chair. We're going to use him again. It should be the last time we have to use a chair inside. Fortunately, this boost isn't that specific. That's another enemy type, by the way. It's only comes back in use at the end of the level, really, or the end of the game. So here, we just have to use this chair to get right up there on top of that wall, really. This boost is really not that challenging. It's more of just making sure you can get on the object, period, because you have to just get in between the rock and the wall, so that way you can just skip having to walk around, basically. So, unfortunately, that can happen, and you just completely go backwards the wrong way, but... Whoops. Alright. So just do that, get on the chair. And it will just boost you up here to this level here, or to this section. So also, some ledges don't work as ledges. Instead, if you, like, crouch on a corner, you can, like, surf on it like Counter-Strike, and you can just ride the corner. You might be asking, why can't you just do that everywhere? Not every corner behaves like that. It's only certain corners that are, like, clipped like a round square. Here we're going to purposely save load, so we don't have to walk down a ladder. Just cancel out our velocity and skip the rest of the level. No. This will be one of the few levels where you have to use time stop to finish, to complete a level. There's a bunch of pistons on a conveyor belt you have to dodge. It's just, you'd have to use time stop to get past them. So right here, just time stop past it a little bit. Time stop drains your energy much faster than time slow does, and time reverse drains it even faster. So like left to right on the bar, in terms of slowest draining to fastest draining. So just grenade jump over this wall. The wall for that specific one is like super small. You can walk around it, but like grenade jumping is much cooler. So you just do that. Also conveniently placed ammo box again. In the inside areas, there's so many ammo boxes that you can use. So like having grenades to do skips isn't really an issue. Here we're going to do a double grenade jump to skip walking all the way around, do a save load to reload, reset our velocity, purposely time stop to heal, and then kill. There's a button that we have to hit to lower a ladder over here. There is another strat you can do right there that you can use a barrel to boost you to the end of the level, but it's super inconsistent. It's very much RNG heavy because the enemies could shoot the barrel way faster than you're intending to, so it's much safer to not do that strat. Although a consistent version might be found like relatively soon. Right now, that particular boost is not that consistent, so it's not worth doing in a run. So the last section of this level kinda is really a pain because it's an entire walkway of explosive barrels. So where the explosive barrels end up after they explode is basically random. And then making sure that you have enough health that you can make it through here without dying is also a huge issue. So like the fire from the explosive barrels actually weakened me a bit, so I wasn't able to make it through in one shot. So just gotta wait for time energy to come back and make it through. It's just a much safer option. If you're lucky enough, there'll be like no explosive barrels on the highway, or you can wait till they extinguish like this, so you don't have to worry about anything. Again, that part's completely random. You can see 3 barrels got stuck over here. That's just because of the way that they worked. Or just because of the way that it blew up that particular time. So, we're going to do more surfing in this particular section. You can, for some reason, surf on this section of the fence, and also on this section of the walkway, and you can just skip having to go around. It doesn't really make sense. But yeah, for that particular section, you can just surf and skip the whole thing. So here we're just waiting for a cycle. If you are absolutely perfect with your movement and manage to boost and get your surf perfect, you can actually not have to miss this cycle. But for here, you just get in this box and time reverse. So here's an instance, along with the fan that we had earlier, where you will get more energy for waiting, or for doing a specifically timed time reversal event. So time reverse normally consumes a ton of energy, but for specifically scripted events, it won't consume a lot of time energy. So that's why some things I can be in time reverse for like 10 seconds and still have plenty of energy left. Whereas if I do it with an object boost, I have like 5 seconds at most of time energy I can use. So coming up is, at least in my opinion, the least consistent double grenade jump in the game. It's just because of the way that everything's positioned in that room, and the enemies that are in there can really screw up your stuff. But what's going to happen is I'm going to purposely damage myself and then do a boost with a crossbow onto a container, immediately heal, and then swap to the grenade launcher and do a double grenade jump onto a corner. So here's a boost, immediately heal into a double grenade jump, And that right there is why it's weirdly inconsistent, but it's entirely worth going for because you skip doing this entire section. So there's a double grenade jump over here, and then you can just surf on this thing over here into the elevator and skip the entire level. So that was, at least in my opinion, the hardest skip in the game. It's just weird how it works. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't really make sense. The backup is just to do the section normally because it's about 1.5 minutes, but it's worth attempting that skip several times. So here's by far one of the funniest object boosts in the game. You're going to start this level, kill 2 enemies, and then do an object boost off a pair of barrels right over here. And the goal for this one is to go completely vertical, because if you can go vertical, that walkway right there you see at the top of your screen is where we want to go. So we're going to set up this barrel, boost off of it, and go completely vertical so we can land on the drop jet hangar. And this boost was like as close to perfect as you can actually think about. So the first lever you have to hit is right by this door. So just hit this lever, then walk towards the middle of the walkway over here. You don't want to time slow actually right here because that will slow down this little walkway from, or this little jet from popping up. And the jet needs to be fully extended upwards before the level to finish. So just do a little boost so that way we don't waste that much time. Alright, this is like a mini auto-scroller, so we can actually put in a few donations in here. It'll be about a minute before any actual action happens from our perspective. But there's a small little cutscene here. There'll be another cutscene after this, actually, where we'll get some more backstory of what actually happened before this whole timeline shift thing happened. And then there'll be a like small 20-30 second turret section. It'll be nothing really that special. But this by far is, I think, the hardest object boost in the run. Sabotage has the hardest double grenade jump. This has the hardest object boost, just because of the consistency and where the barrels will fly is very much you have to adapt on the fly. Because there's 2 barrels you can also go off of. So the enemies will most likely blow up the one further away from you, so you have to notice that. And then the other one is just you shooting it, so you sort of have to hope that you get the explosion that you want. Generally, the barrel will explode about like 70-80% of the time the way that you want with this setup. But the one in the back, the enemies will most likely will shoot. So here, this barrel sort of cooperated, so we're going to try to angle it right above this hill so it can boost us right to this factory over here. Ideally, that building in the top right corner that you can see, we want to land on the roof that's closer to us over there because the level transitions on the edge of that roof. But if you land over here, you can just simply do the out-of-bounds walk towards the roof and then just do a save load so you can cancel your velocity so you don't die. So something to note is looking down here, if I walk over any sort of terrain, I will immediately stop this out-of-bounds walk, we'll call it that. And I will just fall down to that Y level, and my starting Y level will be where I started falling from in that case. So I will die from that fall. Here I'm gonna do a save load, reset my velocity, even though I'm still out of bounds, and then just walk to the end of the level over here. So this one's lucky enough that the end of level trigger extends way through the roof. You're supposed to like go through the building and then go through a vent, but they made it a little too tall, so you can just go hit it from out of bounds. This is one of the shortest levels in the game that's not an object boost. So here we're going to do a grenade jump onto this pipe, because we have to... Basically, you have to kill all these enemies, go all the way around, kill more enemies, then enemies come out of the door that we're supposed to go through, then you kill them, and then you open the door, and then you can go through the end of the level. Whereas if you time stuff correctly, you can hit the objective for enemies to come out the door, you can time slow, and then immediately just walk through the door. So that's something like even a casual could do accidentally. So if you just walk through this door too fast, you can just skip the entire level basically. So this level actually has a sort of, we'll call it a bug. So time reversal scripted events don't work 100% of the time unless you wait long enough. So we saved at this point right there, right before he started talking. there needs to be a certain length of time between when you time reverse and then when you actually, or when you spawn and when you do a time reverse for a scripted one, in order for you to get enough energy. Because if I saved the moment he finished his dialogue and then walked in there and immediately time reversed, the game wouldn't pick up on the fact that it's a heavily scripted time reverse sequence and wouldn't give me enough energy to cross off there. So I have to wait specifically long enough for my energy to regenerate. So here we're just going to do an object boost to the ceiling, because we have to get all the way to the ceiling. Instead of climbing the ladder across the way, we can just do an object boost to get all the way to the catwalks above us. This is by far one of the easier ones because that barrel that we're shooting at is perfectly set up so that way you can just grenade jump underneath it. So just gonna land on the catwalk and then mosey on our way towards the objective point of shutting off the wind tunnels. So actually at this point, this level is fairly self-explanatory. There's actually not much going on here. So if there are more donations that wanted to go on at this point, now would also be a great time, because it's just going to be walk to this objective, hit this button, walk to this objective, hit this button, so on and so forth. Also, one-shotting jetpack guys makes them explode. It's kind of funny. So, yeah, so this will also be a fantastic time for donations. I guess something I mentioned at this point is, like, if you specifically delay long enough for the guy to open the door, you can skip not having to wait for the door to open again. It's like minor optimization. But at this point, the level's complete, so we just gotta walk back towards where we did the boost from to trigger the next level. And then comes Repo Man, which is probably my least favorite level because of the chaos. Not because the boosts or the boost that we're going to do is hard. More because the amount of enemies shooting you while you're trying to do the boost is a little excessive. So again, we're going to spawn this level, and right away we're going to do a boost and try to skip to the end of the level. So here you're stuck on this train until you get past the bend. And once you get past the bend, then you are free to walk around and walk off the train. So to try to minimize the risk of enemies shooting you, you can just chuck grenades at this door and hope that some enemies die, because you'll be sitting here behind this crate here, and you just have to hope that no enemy shoots you when you're trying to do this boost. So here there's 2 explosive barrels. One's a red one, so it's immediately just going to completely blow up. And then the yellow one, which leaves debris left over, and there's a green barrel as well. So the goal here is to make it to, relative to this position, to the back right side of the hangar. The back right side of the hangar has the last lever of the level that we have to pull, so that way we can get upstairs to hit the button that will end the level. So we're just going to abuse this barrel over here. And this is one of those levels where the boost is entirely dependent on your ability to manipulate the barrels, because 99% of the time this barrel will go in the air, and manipulating the barrel is the entire point of, or would be the entire purpose of the skip, or like this skip is entirely dependent on your ability to manipulate the barrel. So didn't make it all the way to the back of the area, but luckily enough there is a backup that you can do. There was the easier one I was trying, or at least here, where you can slide on the railing or something underneath here, where you can actually like slide and clip over the railing here. It's less consistent, but it's faster to do it that way than to try to manipulate or to try to run around blind. So that's what I was trying to do here. Eventually it just gave up and started doing it the harder way, but it's definitely more consistent. Oh, sorry. The harder way, but it's harder. It's harder because you can't see where you're going. So yeah, you can do some weird surfing there, but you can get on this beam over here where you don't see anything. And if you can manipulate blind where you're walking for just a little bit of time, you can eventually re-render the graphics, and then you can jump back in bounds to where you need to go. So at that point, skips over. So now we need to hit this lever to go up to the building to the top left, and then we can finish the level. And then we'll be at the second real auto-scroller of the level, which will be another fantastic time for donations. So once we hit this button, the only thing they mentioned about the auto scroller is that the amount of time it takes the Zeppelin to land is dependent on my ability to kill all of the helicopters as fast as possible. So most of the helicopters are docked on this station on the cliffside, and there's only like 3 or 4 of them that matter that I have to kill really quickly. The other ones are just it just prevents us from landing if I don't kill them right away. So there's like 3 or 4 that spawn and have troops in them that are flying around already, so I have to kill those as fast as possible. But every other ones are just on the dock. You can see here shooting the helicopters that are docked. Those will spawn troops and slow you down. It's right before you dock is when you'll get slowed down. So you can also completely ignore the mines, fun fact, and just not care. The AI will take care of some of them, and also the ship just has enough health in casual that blowing up any of the mines is just irrelevant. So now that all the helicopters are destroyed, the game realized, okay, there's no threat, we can dock the boat now. So you can get out of the turret also earlier than you really supposed to, and head up towards the elevator. Although the elevator will not be active until the Zeppelin has docked. So once it's docked, we can head downstairs and just basically speed run the level like just as normally, because there's no real glitches in this level. The last object boost we did was in Repo Man, which was the level we just did. This one is just completing the level as fast as possible. So here is the classic movie cliche of there's so many explosive barrels inside this area, but luckily you can just time slow through the whole thing. Normally you don't blow these up, but I'm purposely going to blow this up so that way I can kill this guy and just waste less time standing around waiting for the explosions to finish. So this is a required time reverse section, so it doesn't use a lot of your energy. And the rest of this level is basically just running, touching a button, and then sitting on a train and just kind of hoping that you don't die. This is one of those inconsistent levels with the enemies in terms of their ability to kill you. The only way you could prevent that really is you run to the train car as fast as possible while using your time slow, and then you save your time stop for when you're on the train and you need to heal. So you can just abuse time stop healing you. So right here you'll stop time slowing, stand on this car, and the moment you get low health, you just time slow to heal your health. So like here, just gotta heal up, and after that level's done. And we're on to the final level of the game, which is going back to the city to kill Crone. So a lot of this environment should look familiar. It takes place generally in the same area as the first 2 levels of the game, including some areas that are actual repeats of areas that you've already walked through in the past. It's just repurposed, replaced, however you want to specify it. But here we're going to use a gun that we actually never used the entire run. We're going to use it for this level and this level only because it has the ability to destroy certain walls. So we're going to get our crossbow, our shotgun, and then we're going to get the Thunderbolt. The EMF cannon. So the left click shoots these little balls, which are explosive. If you see a destroyed wall, you can just shoot through it and just blow it up. The right click is a charge effect. So I'll be using that in the fight here. You can charge up a bolt and just basically one-shot any enemy in the game instantaneously. So these are those time-shifting enemies we saw back earlier in the factory level. The problem with them is that they can be a real nuisance during this boss fight when you're trying to destroy this thing, because they can you can see they respawn relatively quickly even during time slow. It's like that. They'll respawn very quickly, and it's just something you just have to adapt to. There's no real way you can really compensate for them besides just because their spawns are also random in terms of when/where they teleport to. So, see, one teleported immediately, like right back after I started shooting this guy. So it's something you just have to adapt to. So there's actually, funnily enough, there's a spot that you can cheese the damage. So there's an artillery strike. You're supposed to use your time stop or time slow here to dodge the missiles, but you can just stand in this corner, and only one missile will hit you every time. So as long as you're aware of that and you're ready to hit time stop to heal, you can just abuse that. So you have to use this surge gun to damage the little blue fibers or whatever you want to call them, blue cannons on the Sentinel. If you don't, you just can't use any other weapon. It won't let you do it because this is the only electric weapon in the game, I guess. I don't know. You never really find this weapon until later because, I mean, you can kill the time enemy earlier in that factory level. If you're good, you can kill him and get his weapon, but you run out of ammo so fast and it's not really that useful. So here you can actually abuse the timing on this, where normally you'd have to wait per cycle for each cannon you destroy, but if you destroy 2 at the same time, you can skip a cycle. So since I blew up cannons 2 and 3 at the same time, I can just skip right to the end and I can leave to the last section of the game. So that was the boss fight. This run's basically over at this point. There's no way to die, really, unless you shoot yourself in the face, because you basically get infinite ammo for this last section of the boss fight, and you're just stuck on this little thing. By the way, this is the area at the end of the first level. We're just in a different spot now. So now that we've gone through all that stuff, we get to come back to where we originally started, and then just sit here and just basically shoot this surge gun into the boss, and time ends when you destroy the last little cannon on the bottom. But the ammo box behind you will just constantly respawn ammo for that particular gun, so you don't have to worry about ammo management. It's just shoot it, go reload, go shoot it again, reload, because it will be very unlikely that you will die at this fight. So something to note is the ammo will actually respawn faster if you're not in time slow. So if you can manage to hit it while it's moving, while not in time slow, that the ammo will respawn faster, so you can actually finish the fight faster. But it's less consistent, so it's actually worth it to use time slow if you need to actually try to hit the thing. So time is coming up in about 5 seconds. Once that respawns the ammo, and time. So that is TimeShift. It is a very broken game. Every level is basically around 2.5 minutes, some of them being like 45, 30 seconds. Yeah, it's just kind of broken. 2 very simple mechanics just get abused through the entire run. So, thanks for watching.
We need to talk. I think Crone knows I'm helping you. I don't know what to do. He's scaring me.
We are a go. I say again, we are a go. If Crone attempts to make a jump, eliminate him. Soldier, whoever you are, thanks.
flashback sequence.